You open the kitchen drawer, it slides 3 inches and stops. Something has wedged against the frame. You push it closed, pull again, same resistance. You reach in, shove a whisk aside, try once more, it opens part way. When you finally get what you need and push it shut, you hear the rattle of metal against wood. Too many things pressed together with no room to settle. This happens a dozen times a day. You have learned to push harder, to jiggle the handle, to reach in blind and shove things aside so the drawer will close. You do not think about it anymore. It is simply how that drawer works. There is a rule in Japanese households that solves this. The 80% capacity rule. You never fill a drawer, a closet, a shelf all the way. You stop at 80% and leave the rest as air. My name is Keiko Tanaka. I am 78 years old. I have lived in the same small wooden house in Kanazawa for over 50 years, and for most of that time I kept it full. We treat storage as a goal to reach. If a drawer can hold 15 utensils, we put 15 in it. The space is there, so we fill it, but we are not thinking about what happens when we need to use what we stored. A full drawer leaves no room for your hand. You open it and something catches. The mental consequence is quieter. You have to look, move 3 things to get the one you want. You begin to avoid the drawer entirely. The 80% rule stops this before it starts. You never fill a space all the way. You stop at 80% and leave the last fifth as air. Not empty space you will fill later. Space you leave on purpose, the way you leave margin on a page. Picture 15 utensils, packed edge to edge. Now picture 12. Same drawer, but with room left over. If the drawer is 10 inches deep, you stop at 8 inches. If a shelf can hold 10 jars, you place 8. You do not measure with a ruler. You feel it. When there is visible air between objects, when your hand can move freely to pick one up without shifting others, you have found the line. The physics are simple. When objects have air between them, they do not press. Your hand slides in. The drawer closes without resistance. The metal does not rattle because the utensils rest flat with room around them. The sensory shift is immediate. You pull the handle, the drawer glides. You reach in, and your fingers find the measuring spoon without moving 3 other things. You drop it back in, and it falls into place. The drawer clicks shut on the first try, smooth and final. After a few days, you notice something else. You stop avoiding the drawer. Putting an object away becomes easy again, so you do it without thinking. The drawer becomes a place that holds things instead of a place that traps them. The empty space does something else. It prevents stress. It allows the system to absorb daily variation without becoming overwhelmed. You toss a spatula in quickly on a busy morning. There is room for it to land. You do not have to stop and arrange things to make it fit. The drawer absorbs the motion and closes easily. This is why 80% works. The last fifth is not wasted space. It is the margin that keeps the system from jamming when life does not move in perfect order. The second rule: if a task takes less than 2 minutes, you do it now, not later. Not when you have time. Now, the moment you see it. You walk in and take off your coat. The closet is 6 feet away. 10 seconds to hang it. You stand there and think, I will hang this up in a minute. You drape it over the chair. That is the American pattern. Save the task. Let it wait. By Saturday, you have 30 small tasks waiting. You spend 2 hours cleaning. In a Japanese household, the coat does not touch the chair. You walk in, you hang it, 10 seconds. The task is finished before your mind registers it as a task. Wipe the counter, while the kettle heats. 30 seconds. Put the book back when you stand to stretch. 20 seconds. Rinse the dish before the food dries. 90 seconds. None of these feel like cleaning. They feel like finishing. You are not adding tasks to your day. You are closing tasks that are already open. A dish left in the sink for 3 hours requires scrubbing. A dish rinsed immediately requires only water and a cloth. A counter wiped while damp takes 1 pass. A counter wiped after the spill has dried takes 3 passes and a sponge. The mess you defer grows. It hardens. It requires more effort later than it would have required now. The American pattern treats cleaning as an event. You clean on Saturdays. You clean when company is coming. The rest of the week, you let tasks accumulate. The Japanese pattern has no cleaning day. You hang the coat now. You wipe the counter now. You rinse the dish now. Each task is so small, it dissolves into the motion of living. And by the end of the week, nothing has piled up. 2 minutes is the gate. If it takes less than that, it happens now. This is the threshold where deferred tasks start to accumulate. Handle them in the moment when they are still quick, and they never pile into overwhelming cleaning sessions. Most of what we defer takes less than 2 minutes. Most of what makes a house feel messy are tasks we chose not to finish when finishing them would have been faster than deciding to wait. There is a word for this in Japanese, Nagada suji. Cleaning while you are already doing the thing that made the mess. You do not clean the kitchen after you cook. You clean it while you cook. You chop vegetables. You scrape the scraps into a bowl as you work, not after. You wipe the board before you move to the next ingredient. You wipe the counter where oil landed before you put the pan on the heat. Each action takes 5 seconds. By the time the meal is ready, the kitchen is clean. You did not stop cooking to clean. You cleaned in the small pauses cooking already gave you. In the bathroom you shower. Everything is already wet. I keep a cloth on a hook. Before I step out, while I am still standing in warm water, I wipe the glass door, the tile where soap has left a film, the faucet where water has pooled. 30 seconds. When I step out, the glass is clear. I did not clean the bathroom. I simply dried it while I was already there, already wet, already holding a cloth. Nagara suji erases the line between using a space and cleaning a space. The separate cleaning task disappears entirely. There is only living, and the small finishing motions woven into it. You cannot finish a task in 2 minutes if you do not know where the object lives. Not a general area, an exact place, not somewhere in the junk drawer. The second slot from the left, front row. This is the everything has a home rule. Every object has one place it returns to. Not a drawer it might go in. One place, specific, permanent. The place you reach for without thinking. Most homes do not work this way. The scissors live somewhere in the kitchen. Maybe the junk drawer, maybe the desk. You need the scissors, so you search. You open 3 drawers. You find them on the windowsill where someone left them last week. You use them, you set them down, and next time you search again. When you look for the scissors, you move other objects aside. You open drawers that did not need opening. The search itself generates this order, and at the end you still have to decide where the scissors should go. So you set them down somewhere close, and the cycle begins again. A home is the place an object always returns to. The scissors live in the second slot from the left, in the narrow drawer beside the sink, always. When you finish using them, your hand moves to that drawer without thought. The task is finished. The can opener lives on the 3rd hook inside the cabinet door to the right of the stove. The keys live in the small wooden bowl on the shelf by the front door, left side, near the wall. You do not have to remember these. Your hand remembers. This removes the decision. There is no moment where you wonder where to put something. The object has a home. You return it to that home. The action is automatic. You use the scissors. You put them back in the second slot. 30 seconds later, you need them again. You open that drawer, reach into that slot, and they are there. No searching. Your hand knew where to go because the scissors have only ever been in one place. Walk through your house and choose one home for the 10 objects you use most. The scissors, the keys, the pen, the charging cable, the can opener. Give each one a place, and for the next week, return it only to that place. Let your hand learn. Let the motion become automatic. Before you leave a room, you take 30 seconds to reset it. Not once a day, not when the room becomes messy, every single time you leave. You finish working at the desk. Before you stand, you slide the pen back into its spot. You close the notebook, you push the chair in. 30 seconds. When you walk out, the desk is exactly as it was when you sat down. You finish cooking. Before you leave the kitchen, you wipe the counter where flour dusted the surface. You return the olive oil to its shelf. You hang the towel on its hook. 30 seconds. The kitchen is ready for the next person who walks in. This is not cleaning. This is leaving a room the way you would want to find it. Most of us leave rooms mid-motion. We finish what we came to do and walk out. The book stays open on the chair. The cup stays on the side table. We tell ourselves we will put it away later. Later never comes, or when it does, 30 rooms need resetting at once. By then it is an hour, and it feels like work you failed to do earlier. The 30-second exit does not let that happen. You do not leave a room until it is reset. The motion becomes automatic, the way locking the door is automatic. What gets done in 30 seconds? Items you use return to their homes. Surfaces you touched are wiped or cleared. Furniture is put back in place. Your hand does these things in the same order every time, and after a week the motions are automatic. This prevents accumulation. The slow pile of objects that migrate from their homes onto surfaces, into corners. Most mess is not one large event. It is 50 small objects left mid-motion. And when you walk through the house, you see all 50 at once, and it feels overwhelming. Objects do not migrate. They return before you leave. Surfaces do not collect. They are cleared before you leave. The mess never starts. I finish my tea in the morning. Before I stand from the table, I rinse the cup and set it in the dish rack. I fold the cloth napkin. I push my chair in. 30 seconds. When I leave, the table is bare and clean. This habit does not add time to your day. It replaces the time you would spend later resetting 5 rooms at once. 30 seconds now, or 5 minutes later. The work is the same. The feeling is not. When you bring something new into your house, something old must leave. This is the one-in, one-out rule. You buy a new sweater. You choose one sweater you already own and let it go. You bring home a new pan. You give away the old one that no longer sits flat. One in, one out. The house does not grow. This is not about deprivation. This is about equilibrium. The number of things you own will stay the same instead of climbing every year until your closets press against their frames. Most of us bring new things in without letting old things out. We buy a new coat. We hang it in the closet. The old coat stays. It is still good enough, we tell ourselves. We might need it someday. So it stays, and the closet holds 2 coats where it used to hold 1. We do this with everything. Each new thing joins what is already there, and over time the house fills. Not all at once, slowly. 1 extra item per month, 12 per year, and in 10 years you own 120 things you did not own before, and none of the old things have left. The weight of this is gradual. You do not notice it happening. You notice only that the closet feels tight, that the drawer no longer closes smoothly. You begin to feel like you own too much, but you cannot point to the moment when it became too much. The one-in, one-out rule stops this before it begins. The house stays in balance. You own 30 plates. 30 plates you have room for. 30 plates you use. You buy a new plate because one cracked. You let the cracked plate go. You still own 30. The cabinet still closes easily. But I hear an objection often, and I held it myself for many years. You say, but I might need the old one. I kept 2 potato peelers because one day I might need to peel a large pot of potatoes. I kept 3 wooden spoons because one day I might cook 3 things at once. I kept a coat I had not worn in 5 years because one winter I might want it again. I was being careful, protecting myself from future need, but what I was actually doing was carrying weight I did not need to carry. The old one I kept just in case. I never reached for it, not once. When I needed a potato peeler, I used the one I always used. The second one stayed in the drawer, untouched. The coat I kept for 5 years, I gave it away and have not thought about it since. Holding on costs not just the physical space the object fills, but the mental space it takes to remember it is there, to move it aside when you need something else, to justify keeping it every time you open that drawer. Letting it go removes that weight. If you have not needed it yet, you will not need it, and if someday you do, you will find another. The cost of replacing one item is smaller than the cost of storing 50 items you do not need, just in case. Try this once. The next time you bring something into your house, choose one similar thing to let go. A new book means an old book leaves. Hold the old one. Ask yourself if you have reached for it in the past year. If the answer is no, let it go. You will feel lighter after. Not because you own less, but because the house is no longer growing, no longer pressing against its own edges. You have been told you need to schedule regular deep cleaning days, spring cleaning, fall cleaning, the weekend you scrub baseboards and vacuum under furniture you never move. Japanese homes do not have deep cleaning days, not because the people who live in them are working harder, because they are working so steadily in such small motions that nothing ever builds up enough to require a day of scrubbing. You wipe the counter while you cook. 30 seconds. You dry the shower towel while you bathe. 30 seconds. You return the book when you finish the chapter. 10 seconds. You reset the room before you leave it. 30 seconds. None of these feel like cleaning. But together, spread across a week, they add up to hours of maintenance you never had to schedule because you did it in the moments the work was still easy. Deep cleaning happens when you let tasks accumulate. When you leave the counter unwashed after dinner, the spill dries. When you leave the shower towel wet for weeks, mineral deposits form. The small task you deferred becomes a larger task, and a dozen larger tasks become an afternoon of scrubbing. This is cleaning debt. You borrow time by not wiping the counter tonight, and the cost comes due on Saturday when you spend 20 minutes scrubbing dried grease. You borrow time by not drying the shower, and the cost comes due when you stand there with vinegar and a sponge, trying to dissolve buildup that would have wiped away in seconds while it was still wet. The Japanese pattern eliminates the debt entirely. You spend 30 seconds now when the task is still easy, and you never owe Saturday the 20 minutes of hard work it would have taken to undo what you let harden. Most of us think we are saving time by deferring small tasks. We are not. We are trading easy work now for hard work later. The counter is easier to wipe while it is damp. The dish is easier to rinse before the food dries. When you defer the task, you do not make it disappear. You make it harder. A Japanese home never reaches the point where deep cleaning is needed because the small cleaning never stops. It is not visible. It does not feel like work. But it is constant, woven into every motion of the day, and it keeps the house at a level of clean that never drops low enough to require rescue. You do not avoid work by living this way. You distribute the work so finely it becomes invisible. Instead of 2 hours on Saturday, you spend 2 minutes a day. The total time is the same or less because the work is easier when you do it immediately, but the feeling is entirely different. You never look around and see a house that needs fixing. You only ever see a house that is already clean. This is what I mean when I say deep cleaning never comes. It never comes because you never let the conditions for it develop. The mess that would require an hour to fix never forms because you caught it when it was still a 30-second task. The shift is not in how much you clean. The shift is in when. I kept too much for too many years. Drawers that stuck, closets that pressed against their frames, counters I could not see because they were covered with things I thought I might need someday. I was tired. I did not understand why. I would stand in my kitchen and feel a weight I could not name. The house was not serving me. I was serving it. It took me years to see this, longer to change it. I started small, one drawer, then a shelf, then a closet. I began asking which things I actually used, which things my hand reached for, and which things I kept because I had always kept them. The things I used, I gave exact homes. The things I did not, I let go. The house began to feel different. Not empty, lighter. I would open a drawer and it would slide. I would reach for a cup and there it was, with room around it so my hand did not knock 3 other things aside. I would walk into the kitchen in the morning and see the counter bare and clean, and I would not feel tired before I even began. I open a drawer and it closes easily. I set something down and there is a place for it. I walk into a room and it is ready, always ready, because I reset it every time I leave. I spend minutes each day keeping it this way, not hours, minutes, and those minutes feel like finishing, not like working. The sound is different too. The drawer slides without catching. The cabinet door closes without rattling. The quiet is not silence. It is the absence of friction, the absence of objects pressing against each other, the absence of needing to push harder or reach farther or search for what should already be in your hand. I do not miss what I let go. I thought I would. I have not. The only thing I feel when I open that drawer now is ease. The thing I need is there. My hand knows where it is. I used to spend Saturday afternoons cleaning, 2 hours, sometimes 3. I do not do that anymore, not because I stopped cleaning, because I never let the rooms reach the state where they need resetting. I wipe the counter while I cook. I dry the tile while I shower. I return the book while I am still holding it. 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, and by the end of the week nothing has piled up. I am not working more. I am working at the moment. The work is still easy. The house does not ask me for 2 hours on Saturday because I have been giving it 30 seconds every day. The debt never forms. I walk into Monday morning, and the house is clean because it has been clean since every moment I have been in it, and left each room the way I wanted to find it. These 5 rules remove the friction. They stop the accumulation. They keep the house in a state where it is always ready, always serving you, never asking you to fix it before you can use it. You do not need a cleaning day because the cleaning never stops. You do not need deep scrubbing because nothing ever hardens. You simply live, and the house stays clean because you finish each small thing as you touch it. I am not special. I am not more disciplined than you. I simply learned late that a house can either serve you or you can serve it. And the difference is in whether you let things pile up or whether you finish them while they are still small. I chose to finish them. The house became quiet. The tiredness left. I want to know which of these 5 rules you will try first this week. Leave a comment and tell me. If you found this helpful, the next video is about what to keep and what to let go when you are clearing a room you have lived in for many years. It is the natural next step after today. Choose one drawer, one shelf, one corner of one room. Apply the 80% rule there. Let that space breathe. See how it feels when you open it tomorrow and your hand moves freely, when nothing catches, when the drawer closes on the first try. The people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember. A house is not meant to fight you. It is meant to hold you lightly and let you live.